Public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for October 11th, 2012. Tonight we have two petitions before us under new business, and I would like to request that if anybody plans on speaking either for or against the project, will you please sign in at the podium. I'm going to take the agenda out of order. We're going to start with ZB 2012-40. Petitions of variance. The applicant is James and Charlotte Quayle. Property is located at 171 Lou Street, and the petition is to convert a deck into a three-season sunroom where an accessory structure would fall within the required setback from the main dwelling pursuant to section 4.3.54 of the zoning ordinance. Is the petitioner here? Good evening, sir.
Hi, my name is Thomas Block from Morgan Exteriors. I'm representing the Quayleys, who are both here. Would you like me to start right into it?
Yeah, if you could give us an overview of what the plans are, sir.
Sure. Present conditions that exist in the structure right now are there's a deck that's exactly the size of the screen room / sunroom that we propose to build. And as you have the plans, the current deck is that size, as well as there's one of those rollback awnings that go out in the nicer weather. Basically, what the Quayleys would like to do is get inside, away from the mosquitoes, be able to sit outside and enjoy their pool area.
I don't have any other questions at this point. Anything else you'd like to add, or you're all set at this point?
As far as the other issue would be as to where else this possibly could go, and based on the lay of the land, the lot, expense involved, this is the most logical place. We're not extending any boundaries, but the code states because we are actually putting a roof on it, that's why we're within so many feet of the pool area.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I'm going to open it up to the public at this point. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just had a couple questions about the structure itself and the existing deck. So the existing deck, how many steps down to the pool is it above the?
It's
pool?
one step.
It is?
It's one step, yeah.
Okay. And where are the steps located as far as access from the deck?
It's on the back of the house.
So are there any steps from this sunroom down to the pool area?
No, it would be the same step out. Let me just double check my plans.
Okay, so to understand this, there is no access from the sunroom to the pool?
Yes, there is. There's no stairs because it's ground level.
There's a door on the end wall?
Correct. There's a door in the end wall, a door in the front wall, and there's actually 3 doors that are involved in the plans.
There is no floor plan here, I don't think, right? There's just a site plan and then the elevations?
As you go deeper into the plans, it goes per wall section, 1, 2, and 3. And you can see wall 1, which is the 7-foot wall. The side section shows a door.
Yep.
Wall 2 shows a door, 3/4 down on the right.
Yep.
And then wall 3 shows a door.
Okay. And these doors open in?
They open out.
They open out?
They can open out or in. If you would prefer one way or the other, we could make the door swing either way.
Okay. Okay. And one last thing is, could you give me the dimension that we have the variance really for? There's about, I don't know, maybe 8 feet or 9 feet of length of pool that's compromised at that 4-foot dimension, is that correct?
We're 5 feet away from the pool.
Right, but there's an area that this deck is not at the pool area. There's a significant area that the deck and the enclosure isn't. So
That's what
what's
you're
that
saying.
dimension of the length of the pool that actually is, less than the 10 feet?
Good question. That's 24. I'm going to give you a very good guesstimate, and I would say it's only about 6 feet of the room is within the pool area there.
And then the length of the room is
24.
24, so really a quarter.
And there are no doors that would be opening onto the pool or anything like that.
Okay.
And as far as the other safety issue, it might be that if there were glass involved, and these windows/screens it's a heavy milled vinyl, so there would be no glass that could break. I don't know if you're familiar with the product, it's a little different. I do have a brochure on the product if you'd like to see what we're talking about as far as the windows themselves. There is no glass.
The windows are not glazed, they're a
a hev-
polycarbonate or something that's?
It's like a plastic. I guess the best description would be plastic.
Yep. Okay. And how deep is the pool? At least in that area that's compromised?
That's the low end of the pool. That'd be about 3 feet.
Yep. Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
I don't really have any questions, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a good use of the space to be able to extend the season a little bit outside, so I'm fine with it, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I took a ride by there yesterday, and I did walk to the rear of the home, and as Dennis mentioned, he's interested in how many steps, but it's pretty much to the house, to the proposed sun, it'd pretty much be the same level with one step going onto the ground. So it's all very close, so I don't think that's a big concern with me. Now, where is the door going to be located to go onto the backyard? Whereabouts?
If you look at the first drawing of the overall drawing,
Yep,
you'll see the smaller of the squares
okay.
is the door, so it is away from the pool.
Okay, so it would be away from the pool, okay, that was my
Correct.
concern, to move that, although it is the shallow end, but for safety reasons, darkness and whatnot, it's a good idea. Okay, I mean, there's an existing deck, they are now the same size, what you're proposing for a sunroom. It's a nicely maintained home. I don't think it'd be bothering anybody, quite frankly. I don't think it's detrimental to the neighborhood. I think it'll offer you, the family, some good enjoyment, so I do support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only comment I have is this is a good project, and I'm going to support it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I guess a couple of comments I'll make. I know we had the fire department go out there, and they reported that there were no issues regarding safety from their perspective. So we did receive that report. I think the plans look great. I think it complements the home. I think it complements the neighborhood. And I don't see any issues around meeting the requirements of the special permit. So with that said, and there's no opposition from anybody in the neighborhood. So with that said, I'd like to have a motion, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved.
Okay, sir, you've been approved. Wish you best of luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anywhere. Joe, thank you.
There is.
Okay, our next petition before us is under new business. It's ZB 2012-39. It's a special permit. The applicant is Shayla R.E. Ventures LLC, property located at 1075 Westford Street. The petition is to operate a new 3,000 square foot restaurant with a reduction from parking requirements pursuant to section 6.1.55 of the zoning ordinance. Representative of Shayla R.E. Ventures LLC. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Himanshu Bhatnagar. I am the owner of the 1075 Westford Street.
Okay.
Before I begin describing what we want to accomplish, I just want to share a few things about who we are, why we came to Lowell.
Sure.
HB Software Solutions is a transportation software company that provides technologies to public transportation. Lowell Regional Transit Authority is a client of ours. We provide software and technology to them for managing their bus and fleet services. We used to have our headquarters in North Andover. My wife was looking to start a Kumon franchise, and when we were driving around, we saw this abandoned building that at first was very difficult to absorb or expect, but then we drove by it a couple of times. My wife thought that was a interesting place to locate a Kumon center, and we basically went to this 1075, which at that point was fairly abandoned. There was only one convenience store operating. We started a Kumon center there, and a couple of months later, we decided we'll move our software company there as well. And one of the reasons was that Lowell seems to have an opportunity to provide more technology resources in form of students and workers, and also that I went to UMass Lowell, got my doctorate in computer science with background in transportation, so it was kind of coming back to the roots. So that was the reason why we got there. And a lot of people told us not to buy this property because of parking problems. So we, at that point, looked at it. We did a detailed analysis of who we want to bring in there, what we want to do, and decided that I think the parking that we have is adequate. If we do fill up the building and get it all populated, we could go and make a bid to neighboring lands which are available on sale today, which will completely eliminate any parking issues that we may have. So with that mindset, we purchased the property last year, and as of now, we have taken up 2 floors in the building. We have most of the retail space spoken for or rented out already. The property that the Korean chicken restaurant that we are talking about right now, these people want to actually take 2 spaces, the chicken, as well as a space right next to it for moving their insurance company there. And at that point, our entire retail space will be fully spoken for. So we would basically be able to use this building to create significant amount of economic activity where otherwise it was a place where people would go hide to do illegal things because it was an open building. Having said that, we as a company, and me, my wife, and my colleagues as citizens, we don't want to do anything that is outside of what the city planning department wants us to do. So we keep going back and working with them. We must have had at least a dozen meetings with the city's planning department. Most of them know us by now because we go back to them all the time to say, okay, this is what we want to do. They will tell us what is wrong with what we want to do. We will go back and fix it and go back. This parking plan that you have in front of you has seen at least 12 revisions. A lot of them driven by the objections raised by the traffic engineer. Even the plan that was submitted to you was an old plan, very old plan. So when we did a new plan, the traffic engineer seems to have issues with that, in which were filed in with the city's report to you. We went in and met with this traffic engineer, understood all his concerns, came back with a revised plan, showed it to him, and he, at that point, was very pleased with the changes that we had made. We went in front of a Conservation Commission because we wanted to expand some parking in the back, and they felt that that was not appropriate. So we revised the plans again to stay out of the area that was of concern. So at every given point, what we are trying to do is do within what is permitted and possible. Given that, we also feel that there is a certain amount of realism that has to be brought to some of the strict regulations that we have to adhere to, such as 50 square feet per parking space. So what we did was we looked at what is the actual mixed use of our spaces. And we did a chart that you have a copy of, but since we gave the chart, Ms. Murphy went and kind of trashed it. She says, no, your numbers are not right. So we did another one. And if you would like, I have copies for you guys to look at.
Yes, you have a revised one. I'd like to see it, please.
Yeah. Now, these numbers in the plan are coming from the city's zoning document, which is available online and is used by the city as well as us. And that matrix is part of the application that we have filed. And whatever we have done in the Excel spreadsheet here is formulas that we have driven from that particular document. Now, if you look at this property, this division, HBSS is the software company that is looking to use almost third and the fourth floor. Then we have a medical practice on the second floor. We have a whole bunch of service companies and retail spaces. The Evolution is a hair salon, convenience store, Kumon tutoring center. Then we have potentially 3 new tenants that we are signing leases with, depending on how we fare with the parking. Restaurant, an insurance, and an accountant. We have put square footages for each of these spaces. Then there is additional office space that has not been spoken for yet, but we obviously plan to rent that out. So if you look at the rented space, we have given the details, then we have against that, we have put the parking requirements, and these were corrected by Ms. Murphy. And then we have looked at total parking spaces required, 118 for the rented or spoken for spaces, and 15 spaces for the unused space yet, or unspoken for. Then we did the breakdown on the right with weekdays and weekends. And if you look at it, all the columns, except for the first one, which is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and if you look at the totals at the bottom, 72, 14, 54, 75, and 11, and add the little spaces that are needed for the unused space, they're all within they're less than 80 spaces. So whatever use we plan to do, mixed use for the space, for everything except for 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is less than 80 spaces. Now, the main contention that we have is the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Okay, now we did a detailed, and what I'll do is I'll describe to you my logic, then I'll come back and respond to all the queries that the planning department has raised, and to respond to them, we have got evidence and surveys that we have done our own. But let me first describe to you a narrative that you will find on page 2 of your application, which says how we have come to the resolution that we can do with almost 70 spaces as opposed to the required 95 plus. As you can see, our main contention is the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays. The restaurant does not open till about 11 o'clock, okay, maybe 10:30. And so we believe that majority of the issue of parking constraints will be for 3 hours between 11:30 and 2:30, which is, early lunch, late lunch range. Now, Kumon Center, which is 3A, does not open till 4, and it is only open on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesdays 4 to 7, Saturdays 10:30 to 1:30. So it is completely out of the picture with respect to the restaurant. And so those spaces, for this particular case, the 11:30 to 2:30, should basically be reusable by the restaurant, because there is no center operating at that time. Even if Kumon has to open for more days, their timings are always in the evening. So they don't contest in the lunch period. The insurance space, interestingly, is given out to the same 2 partners or 3 partners that are going to own the restaurant. So they only will have their own cars for both the spaces. So whatever spaces that we need for the insurance group can be reused for the restaurant. Then if you go down further, HB Software Solutions is basically a mobile wireless and web services provisioning company where a lot of our clients use our software on the web. For that reason, we have set up a data center in our office, which has nothing but computers, servers. There's no people there. And then we have a lab that is used to repair these mobile devices that may come on and off. So if you look at the use of our space, about 1,500 square feet of our space, and you're more than welcome to visit us, we'll show you the space. In fact, when we did the opening in August 15th, the city officials, including mayor's representative, was there. So about 1,500 square feet is earmarked for lab. And what it does is, if you look at realistically, lab only requires 1 per 1,000 square feet. So if you do the stuff, you basically have some more space reduced there. Now, HBSS sells software and has field products that run in the field. So a big chunk of our staff is out in the field, installing, repairing, and also selling. And we also have some consulting staff that works at client sites, not at our staff. So at any given time, 30% of our sales, field, and consulting staff is not really in the office. At most, they will come once in a while to fill out their timesheets or collect their paychecks, but they're not there in the office. So given this explanation, we believe that at between 11:30 to 2:30, we may not need more than 80 spaces or 79 spaces, given if everything else is, even if the restaurant requires all 24 spaces. The other tenants, which is mostly us, which is almost 50% of the space, our requirements are less. Kumon is not there. The insurance company overlaps with the restaurant. So there is not a real need to have the additional spaces. The restaurant typically will put their freezers elsewhere, but in this particular case, we required them to put their freezers right inside the 3,000 square feet space. So it's roughly 300 square feet of freezer, and then it has a kitchen, about 1,000, 1,200. So that pretty much leaves about 1,500 square feet of table space area. Now, what we did at this point was we went and listened to the planning department, because they have been really very, very instrumental in us learning. See, we are software people. We don't understand any of this stuff. So we went to the city, and all the way from Maria Dickinson to Joe here, everybody has pitched in and helped us out to understand how we can accomplish what we plan to accomplish. So we went out. You have the picture? Where is that cardboard thing? They can't see from there. They'll not be able. Can you just give it to them? They can pass it along. That picture. Yeah, and oh, okay. Well, can we look at the restaurant spaces first? You can probably see it on the TV as well. So what we did, we selected 7 or 8 restaurants in the neighborhood that bore resemblance to the kind of business that this restaurant will bring. And if you look at that, one thing, okay, so I'll let you see it quickly, but then I'll explain. The Bonchon restaurant is a Korean barbecue chicken restaurant. It's an ethnic restaurant. Now, the difference between a regular Italian restaurant and an ethnic Korean restaurant is that people who actually have the taste for those kinds of things go. There is a Thai restaurant in Middlesex Street in Lowell, and if you go there, there's a wonderful buffet. We go there every other Saturday. But it's very specific to our taste that go. It's not a regular lasagna, pasta, those kind of place, or a Burger King or a McDonald's. It's a very restrictive kind of a restaurant where people go and they make money, but it serves a specific type of community. And we said, how do we know what their real requirements are? I mean, if you do a simple math, if you use the 24 spaces, I'll do this number 6 math, which is, then I'll get back to the actual numbers. If we use the 24 spaces that we need currently to be assigned to this restaurant as per your mixed-use formulas, and if, let's assume there are 5 spots reserved for staff, okay? I mean, in Lowell, a lot of these people who work in restaurants will get dropped off and picked up. They're not going to drive in cars and come and do minimum wage work here. It's just the nature of business. If 19 cars come in at any given time, typically when people go for lunch, they're not going to go and drive to some barbecue place and eat lunch alone. They will go with somebody. So you typically will have 2 or more people pooling car to get to dine in. Takeouts is a different story. They can go in and pick it up and leave. But for dine-in, you typically will expect at least 2 people, if not more. So that would basically mean that they'll spend between, what, $20, $25, $22 on a lunch. If you do that simple math that people will not stay for more than 1 hour for lunch, in a 3-hour period, you'll have 3 such quantums of 19 cars. That means 57 cars total in 3-hour period. If you do the math, you will see that the restaurant is going to be making $42,750 per month with that kind of a requirement. That is unheard of, and it doesn't happen. And if you use the same math and go to the evenings and the weekends, this restaurant will make between $2 to $3 million a year, at which point he can buy me out and use the entire space. He doesn't need us for that point. So these numbers that you have don't resemble an exact economic activity. So what we then did, we went and did sampling, because we wanted to make sure the numbers we are presenting are not pulled out of a hat, but like scientific analysis we went. So you have the pictures? Okay. This is a restaurant in Leominster, which is a city that is closest to this restaurant. It's a Korean restaurant. They serve dine-in. And if you look at it, I went there today before because I wanted to be absolutely sure. I actually went and ate something there, which was tough because I have never eaten this before. But I ate. And I took some pictures. And if you see, there were a total of 7 people, including me, eating on 4 tables. And there were only 4 cars outside. The total number of car spaces they have is about 12. And the square footage of that space was at least 2,500, from what I could see. Then, go to the next one, please. Then we went to, go to the one after that, before that. Then we went in the neighborhood around here. Photolat is on the Drumhill. Then there is a Photolat on Middlesex Street, 1575. And then there is a 488 in that plaza opposite the Princeton Corporate Center. We went in there, he did, and he took pictures. On an average, we didn't find more than 10 or 11 people in that restaurant in the lunch time. Okay? Go to the next, please. We went then to Chelmsford, where there were almost, how many restaurants were there, David?
7 restaurants.
There were 7 restaurants in this plaza, Summer Street. And if you do the math, and there were roughly 1,500 to 23,000 square feet or 3,500 square feet. If you do an average of 2,400 times 7, and you divide that by 50, you will require 900 spaces. Okay, and that office, that space also had an office complex, so it was very close to what we are doing, and retail. So it had retail and an office, not in the single building, but in the plaza. So that office was on the right side somewhere. That building on the top right, that was the office complex. And they had a total of 200 spaces. So the argument that so based on this assessment, we realized that you probably would not expect more than 10 cars parked at any given time for this particular restaurant. Even then, if using 30 dine-in lunches or cars, you're looking at roughly 57, 30, $21,000 to be made per month. Okay? the rent is only $4,000. There is absolutely no way, if they make this kind of business, that they will ever go out of business, and they want to stay there for 15, 20 years. So whatever we do here will stay with them for a long time. But the fact that putting 24 spaces for 3,000 square foot restaurant with an inbuilt freezer, with 1,200 square foot kitchen, is a little too much. So what we are trying to do is trying to convince you that we may want some relaxation on this constraint. Okay, now, before we go in that request, I want to go back to the parking and show you where we have pretty much addressed all of the cities concerned that have been raised in the document. Okay. It's not going as I had planned it to go, but I will still go, because I was. Okay, I'll go through the questions that the city had raised. This was on the second page of the city sent their remarks, project application and documentation. So they basically said that the board may seek clarification about the number of start and proposed tables and seat takeout, and So those pictures that you saw about the comparative restaurants in the neighborhood, that would address that concern. That on an average, the number of people you will expect there is between 10 and 15, 10 cars at any given time, maybe 20, okay? The next question was that since we are proposing 70 spaces, and they had a very old parking plan, we then revised the parking plan 3 times and addressed all the concerns that were raised by them as well as by the city engineer. And specifically what we did there was we changed the entire traffic flow to one-way. And can you walk them through that? It's all one-way.
So, sir, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You're on page 2, is that what you said?
Page 2 of the city's response.
Okay,
Cities.
so can we just back up for a quick second?
Sure.
So you're in the section, the project application and documentation, right?
Yes.
So the first bullet here had to do with clarification about the number of staff
Yeah.
and proposed tables and seats. I'm not sure if I heard, did you address that? Did you
Yeah, I
give-
said there are roughly 10 to 15 people. I mean, you can look at 10 to 12.
Okay,
maybe
so
15.
you're saying, just a minute, so you're saying the number of staff is 10 to 15 people?
No, tables.
10 to 15, okay, what's number of staff?
There will be probably between 5 and 6, maybe 5 and 7 at lunchtime.
Okay, so the total number of staff, you're saying is 5 to 6, correct?
5 to 6 or 5 to 7. Yeah, I had invited those
Okay, I
restaurant
mean, you don't have anybody from the restaurant here,
Well,
correct?
I had invited them, they didn't show up. But
Yeah.
I can obviously, but
Okay.
I have run these numbers by them. They are even saying you can give
Yeah.
us 5 spaces and nothing more,
Right.
and we'll be fine with that.
So we don't have any plans in front of us about the restaurant. So in
You
other
don't have
words, we don't have any plans in front of us about the restaurant. In other words, the layout of the restaurant. You're saying they're gonna have 6 employees, they're gonna have 15 tables or whatever.
No, they have more tables, but they'll only open up.
I know, but I don't have any plans in front of me. That's why I'm asking you right now what you're gauging this on.
Yeah.
I wanna respond to what's on here.
Okay, so from what I have talked with them, okay,
Yep.
they are saying that if you give us 5 spaces for cars, for staff, we will be fine. We won't need more than 5 spaces. You can restrict us to 5 spaces only for staff, okay? And in the back of the building, and they'll be fine with that. So I've gone through this entire report with them, and I had requested them to be here so they could back us up, but unfortunately, they're not here.
You know the hours of operation?
Yeah, it's after 11 a.m. to late night, 11, 12, whatever time.
Okay, so 11 in the morning
Yes, please.
till whatever they decide for closing? I mean, are we talking about midnight for this place?
Probably midnight, yeah.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Since you referenced page 2, I just want to follow along with the sheet of
Yeah.
music here, so I might interrupt you at certain points to just get better clarification.
Sure. The
Okay?
thing is that as far as the number of tables are concerned, because they will be their main business is going to come in the evenings and weekends, so the total number of tables will be probably a lot more than what is used for lunch. The rough numbers we saw in all the restaurants we went to were about 10 to 12. I mean, the one I went to only had 4 tables used. So roughly 10 to 12 tables may be in use at any given time. That's what we are estimating based on our survey of the area.
Is the access to that building only from the front of the building?
Yes.
Okay, there'll be no other accesses into that
No,
building?
it's a one-way flow.
There's on the front of the building, I believe it says main entrance. Is that
Yes.
where every person that enters that building to visit that building, they're using that same main entrance?
For the salon and the upper staff, the restaurant will have a building on entrance on the side.
They'll have an
right
entrance on
there.
the side?
Yeah, he's sure, right there.
I know there's a door on the side, but I know they're not labeled, they're marked, that's
Yeah.
why I'm asking the
That
question.
door that he's pointing out to, that is the main entrance for the restaurant.
Yeah,
There's a little jog, and then there's the restaurant in there.
right, because I know you have doors, obviously, for fire safety, you need some escape
Yes.
routes to
No,
get
we
out
have
there.
5 doors in that space.
Yep.
In that restaurant, there are total of 5 doors. If we
Okay.
need to,
So
we
people
can.
could either access the restaurant from the side of the building, or they could go in the front. Is that correct?
No, they will access it from the space that he's showing.
Okay, so
Regular,
it's only going to be on the side of the building?
regular guests. Now, the staff may come in from the back door for loading and unloading if they
Okay,
have to.
gotcha.
And there is another door on the right side
Yep.
that will lead into their insurance space, which also then leads to another exit door on the right side of the building.
Okay.
So there will be plenty of space or doors for exit in case there is a crisis of any kind.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So regarding the parking, can you go back to the parking, please? Now, with these questions, I have got some other information, so I'm just going to read them out. We were informed at that point that in the back of the building, we needed 5-foot setbacks. So we redesigned the parking to show the 5-foot setback. Can you point that out, Costico? So there's a 5-foot setback all along the back of the building where the parking is going to be. And they also were objecting to the way we had set up the navigation of various spaces, so we streamlined all of that, and we sent this report and the plan to Mr. Eby, who was the traffic engineer, and we met with him, but when did we meet him? Last week. We met with him last week, discussed everything, and he had originally expressed concerns that our assumptions, he's not comfortable with our assumptions, but I believe after we discussed and explained everything, he did convey to us and Mr., how do you say your last name, Joe?
Genowitz.
Genovitz. Mr. Genovitz was there with us, and then he got an email from him saying that he's comfortable with the assumptions that we made. Then, and then the biggest thing we did was we are staying out of any of the conservation area so that we don't have any conflicts with them at this point. Anything that you show there that is in the conservation has already been paved and approved from previous hearings. Now, if you look at this parking, when we sent it back to Ms. Joseph, she sent back with more questions. While we are at the parking, she sent us back with more questions, and one of them was regarding the dumpster. And originally, the dumpster was in the conservation area, but we met with them today and went over it, and we decided to move the dumpster from the back of the conservation area to that side space where a dumpster truck can easily come in from the right side, pull it in, grab it, back it up, and go along the way outside. And it is on an asphalt space. There is no permeated space problem or impervious space problem. And it is in the back of the building. Nobody can see it. Even the restaurant people will like it because it'll be less walk for them to get the stuff done. And it is right behind, almost behind the back door of the building, so anybody who has to walk, it is. So this will be a place. Now, one thing we do have to request you in this hearing, and as per the suggestion of the planning group, is that we could achieve a lot of this. First of all, because of Mr. Spauher here, who's an architect, and he's on our staff. He helps us And this drawing he has done is with actual traffic software, so all the parking spaces, all the measurements are absolutely accurate. He has measured every little access spaces to make sure that it meets the criteria. But what we found that we could use about 30% of the parking spaces and restrict them to be compact. And we have found that in a lot of places that a big, a certain percentage of their parking, they're restricted to compact. But these days, with all these hybrids and smaller cars, my staff, half of them use compact cars. So we used compact, and one of the things we would like to request is to, if possible, to add a special permit request in this application to grant us the 30% compact car special permit. And that, if you look at it, we have spaces now adding up to 89 that we can create, which meets the comfort level of the planning department. Joe?
So what's the purpose of the compact? You need to explain that to me, because I see 24 spots that are labeled for compact, and I
Yeah.
see another 3.
These will be labeled
front.
compact, and only the compact cars can go in. They're only 6 inches shorter than the regular spot, and they're designated for compact cars.
So what's the concern with having the compact spots?
No, it's not a concern. The city said that we will need to ask for a special permit for you to put the compact cars in there.
Yeah. Can
Here-
you just tell us who you are and?
Oh, yes. My name is Kostik Aspal. I have a Master's of Architecture from Roger Williams University as of last year. And I've been with HBSS for about 6 months now, doing various interior design and parking layout, and also some other graphic work for them. So the software that was used for this parking is called Revit Architecture, and all the parking spaces were taken per code. For example, as you choose 90-degree parking space, it gives you like a 9 by 18. And then according to international building code, not the
Even
Lowell
state,
building-
the state also has 30%.
Yes, but the compact cars, they're actually 8.6 by 16 instead of 18. That gives us more room on this side, which makes it easier to park in and out. And now you get a 22 feet width over there. We only need 18, but it is easier and better to have that open space, that breathing room.
That's if you can get people to follow the rules. Okay. No, I was just curious. I mean, I've been to the site a couple of times. I'm just curious why you wanted to put the compact in there. Was there some issues with closeness of the building?
Well, that also, and then as you reduce 6 inches, when you have a large span, you gain 1 or 2 spots over the overall. And then we also gain another spot here by adding those 3.
We're squeezing every square foot that we can legitimately to get as much of parking as we can. And compact cars gives us one opportunity to get 2 or 3 more spots.
Okay.
And if you look at the tightness of what we are trying to do, 1 or 2 or 3 spots alone can make or break things for us. Okay. Okay, so now, one of the things we would like to do is it possible for the board here to consider our, like an add-on application here?
Well,
Will save us money.
we're
and
going to entertain the first reason why you're here, and then we can move on
Okay,
to
we'll come back to that then.
the other. Is there anything else you want to add from page 2?
Yeah, I just have to narrate a couple more things. But I think we've shown them to you by the pictures, and I labeled everything in. So I think we are good here. I think we have addressed 2, 3, and then regarding the other stuff, we are working with the city. They have a 6-foot sliver of land on the, I don't know if it's east or west side, but on the left side of the compact cars, that we have put in a request to purchase or lease that space. It helps us to go further and give more room in the area. And so that is addressed there. And other than that, I think we can move on back to our original page here. We have addressed the issues with respect to dumpster, so we don't have to go back to the Conservation Commission.
So I have a
because the dumpster
question, sir, I have a question on the dumpster.
Yes, please.
Presently, there's a dumpster on the site,
is- Yes,
correct? You're using the same dumpster?
yes.
Okay, is that dumpster going to fulfill the needs of that building being totally occupied plus a restaurant?
Yeah, currently we are getting a dumpster removal truck come every 10 days, 12 days, 15 days. We just have to increase the frequency if it starts getting filled up sooner. But it is big enough to hold, I mean, it survives almost 15 days before you call it dump truck,
That's without a restaurant.
without the restaurant, yeah. And we will call it more frequently. It costs us about $30 for every trip.
Okay. And you
And if they do excess,
you understand if you have a dumpster on site, we have a dumpster regulation here. You understand what the rules and regulations are with the dumpsters?
for whom? For the restaurant or for us?
No, for you, for the site.
We do? Well, he's our property manager, so I'm sure he's fully, and he manages other properties and owns
So
them.
as of right now, you're not meeting the regulations of the dumpster?
We're not?
No.
Okay, well, then we'll move it first thing tomorrow.
So for instance, you're moving the dumpster from where it currently sits, which is in the corner of the facility, and you're actually moving it to the rear of the facility, and it looks like it's on an angle.
Yes,
Okay. And I noticed on your new plans, you have it kind of like shaded out. What's the purpose of the lines, the shading? What does that represent?
That just simply represents that you cannot park in those areas.
Okay, so the first thing, as far as the regulations go, is you need to have this thing fully screened.
screened.
That's part of the regulations, so it needs to be screened,
Okay.
which
I was,
will take care of your no parking.
yes,
But
okay.
that's why I'm stating the facts here regarding the dumpster regulation.
Sure.
I understand you're moving it. I'm just talking about the regulations that the city has regarding dumpsters. That's an observation I made as soon as I pulled around back. I saw it sitting there.
We know we had to relocate the dumpster. My name is David. We knew we had to relocate the dumpster
Sure.
at some point, but we didn't want to write the lines in. So we had a final plan.
No, he's talking about the shaded area, and I think I understand. You don't want the dumpster to be exposed, basically. You put some screens
Well,
around that.
it-
I've seen that
It
before.
won't be exposed.
Yeah, fine, so I think.
That's just something that'll roll out as we move along here.
Okay.
I'm just pointing that out to you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Anything else you want to finish up with?
I think I've pretty much said everything I could, but if there's anything left, if you have questions, I can probably bring it up when you ask questions. Joe, is there anything else?
Okay, so a couple of things. So this evening, just for the record, a new set of plans were submitted to the board regarding the parking layout, which I appreciate. Joe, question for you. The applicant referenced this parking layout, and the applicant also mentioned that Ms. Murphy may or may not have looked at it. Do you have any idea if she did look at it? Did she approve it?
Yeah, she looked at it last week when we sat down with the applicant, go over the plan and the comment form that DPD had originally wrote. And the latest parking chart that was presented to the board is an update based on the meeting that we had, which Mrs. Murphy was a part of.
Okay. Now, you went before Conservation, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Joe, were there any, in regards to the visit to Conservation, were there any conditions? Was there a final decision met why they were before Conservation that has any bearing at all with this petition before us?
Not exactly. The applicant was before the Conservation Commission originally for an expansion of the parking lot towards the back left, the rear of the property. It was an expansion of the parking lot, and it was within the 100-foot buffer of the wetland area back there. The applicant originally applied for an RDA, which is a request for determination of applicability. And the Conservation Commission found that the application as presented did require a notice of intent with them, which is a different application process through the Conservation Commission. It's more intense, rigorous application process. This current plan doesn't feature that expansion of the parking area. There's no additional paving. They're utilizing the existing impervious area as is.
Okay. Okay, so on your parking plan, you also outlined what businesses are currently there and which businesses may potentially be there in the future. So as far as the minimum parking requirement column, Joe, I'm just going to direct this to you. You know, it shows the 50. I assume this is part of the parking regulations that instead of the 250, they're going to 50. Is that the purpose of the 50?
That's the special permit that
Yep.
they have applied for, is to reduce the parking requirement from 50 square feet to 250 square feet.
Yep, okay. All right. So do you have any idea how many, I'll call it routine, full-time employees there are for the existing businesses today?
Well, there are different
And I'll say from 8 to 5.
most of it is us. Okay, and we have at this moment about 15 full-time and about 5 or 6
Okay,
part-time. And the other places are temporary because most of them don't, they're all retail businesses, so they have split hours, they come in and go.
yeah.
Quite a few of them just walk to the property, like in convenience store, there is only one
Right.
owner, the rest of the people who work there live
Oh,
in the
Evolution, is that the
hair salon.
hair salon? And I know, I've been by that building quite a few times, and I know, as you mentioned, you know, the convenience store, I think, was the very first
Yes.
tenant that was in there, and good for them that they're still there.
Yeah, it's a tough.
But I know that the Evolution, they seem to have really brought in a lot of customers, and I know it's a hair cutting business, the people are in and out. Do you know how many haircutters they have on an average in there? I mean, do they have?
Maybe, I don't know, 3 or
Okay.
4, maybe 5, I don't know.
Well, they must be running around crazy sometimes with the amount of cars that seem to be there.
Well, I think
for-
what happens is that they don't schedule as much and
Sure.
let people wait. But when they will have to, they know they're only authorized for 4 spaces. But when they start feeling that they may need, to schedule, they can schedule better, their staff, they can handle things better. But
Okay.
But
now
good, the thing is that business is good for the area. And if we fill up this building, we definitely will take the space next door.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, yeah, there's a couple of other things that David just pointed out that if you don't mind, I like to interject. We have a public bus stop in front of our building,
Yep.
which should bode well for, like, if students want to come and eat, they don't need to drive. They can just take a bus and come there and eat and then go back. That happens a lot in Harvard Square in Cambridge area, where there's a lot of restaurants live off students, but they don't have cars. They just walk or take a bus. We are also planning to set up a bicycle stand, if we can, in a spaces there, which will promote use of bikes in that area. And so I think that should also have some alleviation of the pains there.
Okay. Joe, what's the difference in the petition? There's a plan here, the compact versus, the requirement. What are we talking about? What's the difference in size of the parking spaces? Or maybe I'll phrase it this way. If he's showing 24 spots for the compact on the, as you're facing the building on the left-hand side, if we didn't go with compact, how many spaces approximately would be showing there if we had to go with what's required?
You would probably lose a couple spaces. There's only a difference of half a foot in the width. The bigger difference is in the length. It's 2 feet shorter than your required parking space in this area.
Yep.
So it's 8.5 by 16 as opposed to 9 by 18. So you'd probably lose somewhere around 2 to 4 parking spaces.
2 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, you picked up a few in the back when you moved the dumpster over also, correct? Okay. All right, 2 to 4. So one of the other comments I'll make, and, you know, I'll have all the other board members, but, so based on your latest plans here, for instance, now, you show the traffic flow totally changing that exists today. You can pretty much enter and exit from either one of your openings right now. So you're showing pretty much a traffic flow from right to left. Are you planning on having any signage out there that indicates,
Yeah, we'll put do not enter signs on the left side,
okay,
and then we'll put arrows to show people going, and then we'll mark when they enter, we will point where the compact cars can go, so they don't have to hunt for it. We'll put some signage to help people with the parking, because if it only helps us if it is managed better.
okay. Yeah, one of the, and Joe, I believe, I didn't see anything in here from the fire department, but can you just explain if the fire department's been out there? And I didn't receive any notices here from any departments, but.
Yeah, the fire department didn't report back any concerns that they had from any of the parking layouts.
Okay. Thank you. So, entrance on the side of the building. The handicap, Joe, the way it's presented this evening with the revised plan, I see 6 handicap, if I'm looking at this correctly. Does that meet the requirements of the parking?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, do you have anything else you want to add at this point? Because what I'm going to end up doing now is I'm going to open it up to the public, which should take all of about 2 seconds, but. And
I
then-
think I'm good right now.
Okay. So with that said, is anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone in opposition? Opposition. Hearing none. That portion of public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. And my good friend, Dennis, I'd like to kick it off, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to applaud you on the effort put into this, and I think that making a success here is an important thing to support here. So I applaud you for your efforts.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the new table that you gave us, and I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, but I'd just like to point out a couple of questions here. The service business ratio for parking, I think that's 1 per 900, is that correct?
It is, it's actually, these numbers were given to us by Ms. Murphy, so I'm just using that as holy grail. But you could, I know these numbers were rectified and modified by Ms. Murphy. But if it's 900, your requirement actually goes down then.
Exactly, which
Which is good.
in the numbers here that I see, we would actually be looking at,
Yeah, that'll change things.
6 additional, a reduction of 6 spaces, basically, I think, in my math at least. And so
Yeah.
then that places the total,
You're right, it is 900 square feet. It is.
I'm here to help. So then that would place the total, I think, because I think we should add in the 15 for the unused space
Oh,
at
wait.
127.
Yeah, I think it's a space issue. Let's just look at the classification. Retail business, UMU, TMU, NB, and INST is 900, but all other permitted zones is 500. That's retail. Service business has the same. UMU, TMU, NB, and INST is 900, and all others is 500. So I'm not sure.
If I may, Mr. McCarthy, the one service business that's listed as 1 per 900 should be listed as 1 per 500, because this property is in a regional retail, so it's the 1 per 500 square feet.
Then we'll add those 6 back in. Okay, so what I'd like to do, though, is understand exactly the number that you're looking for a reduction on. By the way, I do support the idea of the compact spaces. I think they're, so many employees just park for the day, or move once at lunch, and so I think that makes a lot of sense. But, so the total then is 133? If you factor in the 118 plus the
15, yeah, 133 is total,
is the total,
yes.
right? So, then you're looking at a total spaces on site of 89
Yes.
on the new plan, if we were to accept this plan the way it is. And then you have a amount of, what is it, 30?
Which column?
So if you take the 133, the 90 or 89 from the 133 that you require, and you have 89 on site, that gives you 44 spaces that you are not providing per zoning, right?
Okay.
And you're suggesting that your 59 spaces that you have dedicated to the restaurant could be a target because you don't think that you're going to need all 59 spaces. And if you just saw that as the target and you didn't have the shared spaces, then you'd be looking at 15 spaces dedicated just to the restaurant if you didn't take advantage of any shared spaces. So that's the math that I see, okay. And then you did a lot of exhaustive research here as to how you're using the spaces, especially with, I think, the HBSS use itself, taking advantage of the square footage there that you currently have as, not requiring the 1 per 400 ratio. That alone is a big, I think, proponent to adding to the restaurant. And I think you make a good point in that the restaurant itself, although not having the restaurant user here, I think is a little iffy, because we don't really know how they're using it exactly. And we don't have a plan in front of us that shows us how it's being used exactly. So that's kind of a little dicey for me that we don't have that.
Can I make a comment about that? When you start a new business, you're very optimistic about where you're going. And the best way to measure, again, we try to use some scientific thought about how to do it, was to see how other businesses that are comparable are doing, that have been around for a long time. And we went inside, counted the tables, counted the things. So and then we ran these numbers with them. And I'm just a little surprised they're not here, because they called me this morning and said that they're coming, but something must have come up, because they are chomping at the bits to start the construction work. So they had to be here. But the realism is that, if you go to an Indian restaurant, and I go to quite a few of them, on a Friday evening, when places you have to sit for an hour, wait for it, there you have sparsely populated stuff, because these are all specialized restaurants that serve to a certain demography. It doesn't serve to a common purpose, where you would, let's go. Even the Chinese restaurants are different because they're more American than they're Chinese, whereas these Korean, Japanese, I'll tell you one incident. Me and my wife once went into a Japanese restaurant, and when we saw the menu, we basically had to run away because some of the stuff there was scary. And, frog legs and things like that was a little scary. So we left. So what happens is that because we are such a multicultural environment, Lowell is a very multicultural and multi-ethnic society, a Korean business would do well here, because there is enough population. You put a Korean restaurant in the middle of North Andover, and I'm going anywhere. This is where I live. But you put it here, and there is enough diversity in the population that you will see success. We are seeing the same kind of success with Kumon, is that there is enough immigrant population here who are here working odd jobs, but they want their kids to do well, so they push them through this stuff. So that is the kind of cultural diversity that I believe will make this restaurant successful. But again, it's a very targeted, very demographically sensitive business. That's the reason why all our assumptions. So we went and saw Vietnamese, Japanese restaurants. He ate there, I ate there, so that we get a sense. Because see, it's detrimental for me as a business owner to have a chock full of cars parked, and I'm only making $4,000 a month for rent, and I can't rent the rest of the space to anybody else. Whereas, as a company, software company, $4,000 doesn't go anywhere for us. So we will be irresponsible if we did not do the level of research that you find that we have done here before we come out and present to the board, because you have limited time. And if we throw some assumptions, unfortunately, the restaurant owners are not here to answer some of the questions, but Costico did their design, interior design.
The zoning requirement of 1 space per 50 is something that I think is based on a certain, level of experience. So to decrease it without understanding how the restaurant is being set up with a table count and that kind of understanding, where the population is going in that space, is a little difficult, I think, because I could see easily 100+ people seated in that restaurant.
At lunchtime?
You know?
That's the contention, because outside of the lunchtime, we have no contention because HBSS doesn't exist there, and 34 of our spots can be simply applied to the restaurant. We are not there after 5 p.m. We are not there on weekends, which is when you will see the 100+ people in the restaurant. So the contention is really for that small 3-hour space on weekdays.
Excuse me, Joe, we're looking at a special permit for granting restaurant use, a lower than requirement for parking. It's just a restaurant use. We're not saying it's a Korean restaurant. We're just saying a restaurant use, correct? We're not being specific as to the type of food served here.
The special permit is for a reduction in parking for a restaurant. It's not necessarily for a restaurant to be there, but it's just a reduction for a restaurant.
That's how I understood it too. Okay, all right. I think that a couple of minor things here on the parking layout. I wasn't thrilled about seeing the compact spaces in the front. I think if we're going to go to the 30% ratio for compact spaces, I'd like them to be the type of spaces that would be dedicated to people that are there for the whole day. And the spaces up front would be for the more, people that are coming and going, just to shop or to eat at the restaurant or to be there for an hour or so. So I'd like to see the compact spaces, if possible, placed in areas that are, less convenient.
Okay.
So, and I really think that looking at the math in a creative way like this makes a lot of sense. But I do think we need to see more information about the restaurant to understand exactly how they are going to be setting this up and to put some kind of criteria as to what makes sense for the size of dining room before we can agree to a reduction of this scale, because this is a big reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a few comments, I guess. Right now, the lot's not striped. So as you go through the process and something's approved or not approved, obviously the lot's going to be striped and marked and all those things. And then the hashing or shading for the dumpster obviously would be a necessity. Can you tell me, you had mentioned about an intent to lease 6 feet on the western side of the property from the city. Where does that stand now is question one, and then secondly to that is what's the intent with that?
Just to have a little more breathing space for us, for navigation and cars, and if we have need for it. Because what happens is that during winters, you may have need to push some snow there.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be a good place for us to dump the snow in that 6-foot area.
So it's eroding now, though, kind of into your asphalt area
Yeah.
as it is. Are you planning to push it back and put a retaining wall of
Well,
some
the
sort?
lot next to us is actually currently being considered for being on sale.
Next to you, the plumbing supply next door?
No, the
side?
other one.
The other-
Where we are
the
looking
west
to look
side.
at the 6-foot space.
Okay,
Right after that, they basically were in our office trying to work out some kind of a parking sharing arrangement with us. So we can get another 15, 16 spots there, but that's, again, a selling point. Costico, this is not ours. This is ours, this is not theirs. He did a rough sketch for them, but this is not our plan. They have a different plan because they hired a different architect to do that. But that gives you generally the space. There's a freezer at the bottom. There are 2 bathrooms also there. I mean, there's actually 2 full-size bathrooms in the space that I didn't even count in our square footage. Then there is a kitchen, freezer, and then there are what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19, 20 tables total. And if you put that for lunchtime, you expect about half of it to be used.
Mhm.
And that's the general layout that we did for them to show them how they can do it. They went out and hired an architect to do the actual thing.
I'm not there, I'm still on the erosion, I don't know why.
Yeah,
we jumped
he
back
brought it up, so,
Okay.
okay. So going back to your erosion question,
there. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
you're gonna take 6 feet, but I don't know what that's, oh, you're looking to lease 6
We are
feet.
discussing it with the city because if the space next door to us gets sold to somebody or we buy it, city will have a space of 6 feet in the beginning that we want to put a first claim on before anybody else does.
Okay, but there's erosion there now, so that's pushing onto your potential parking spaces. So the concern is, and DPD noted it in their recommendations, is that erosion is continuing and it's pushing those spaces back, in my opinion. As it erodes further, it's gonna take up more and more of the asphalt space.
Well, we won't let that happen. Obviously, if it starts hurting us, then we're going to put some plans, but it is not, have we gone through any of that discussion yet?
So I guess my question is, do you have any intent to address that situation or not, based on the recommendations from DPD?
Well, anything that hurts our property, we will address. There's no doubt about that, because we don't want to create a situation where the erosion causes a tree to fall on our property, and we can't ask the city to remove the trees. So we've kind of a little bit of in a bind, and then we go out and spend money to do the all erosion work, and then the plot next door gets sold, and then they say, hey, we're going to remove all the dirt from here so you won't have any erosion, and now I've got something sitting in there that basically. So before we go out and spend the money, but we are keeping a very close eye on that. We are negotiating with the city to see if we have the first right to that particular
I'm
slab.
assuming some of that erosion is on your land now.
No, it's not.
Your plot plan is your
It's,
asphalt?
there is a, what do you call that little berm?
We have almost like a quarter berm.
A berm on the back, yeah.
And beyond that, the topography grades up, and you have roots exposed.
Right.
There is a potential.
But there is a section that that has a wooden treatment done on it. So it's actually, there is wooden treatment done now.
I lost you there, you were both talking, what?
I'm sorry. There is a section where there was some erosion
Yeah.
where the previous owner actually had put a wooden retaining wall.
Right.
Okay, now as we see that it may happen, we are actually looking to hire a company to come in and give us a complete, because after the meeting with the Conservation Commission, we decided to hire a company to help us understand that whole space and see what we can do with it. But, as it is, that everything costs money, and if we can get this restaurant rented out, things become a little easier for us to do. But clearly, as a business owner, as a building owner, we have all intentions to take care of anything that will hurt our property in any way, or our clients. I definitely would not want a tree to fall on the cars that are parked there, or the soil to start popping up on the side.
Yeah, my concern was more, it's the 16-foot slots slated as compact, and as you start maybe getting erosion into that, it's gonna push those back. even further.
Maybe if we could think harder, maybe we could do something so that we leave, because we have maybe at least a foot or so that we can have the cars parked, so we can leave some room, but we definitely plan to address it.
Okay, that's
No,
right.
no doubts about that.
It was
It's
just a comment from DPD that you didn't hit as you went through the six.
Well, what we were talking about is we're talking to the city to discuss how we can address it, because that property is owned by the city.
We can't touch that land.
Yeah, I don't know where you start and they end from a plot plan. I assume there's some,
There is the problem there is, and in fact, that is one of the things we're going to be coming back to the city or some board to talk about, is that till the land next door is decided what to do. It's been on sale for 3 years. Just because he's asking for a lot of money, nobody's buying it. It has access problems. You can't really get to it from Westford Street, or even most of the Wood Street is kind of congested.
Right.
So that property has a lot of problems. The best use for that property is if we buy it and we make it part of our contiguous space. But, $1 million is not something that we have lying around right now. The reality is that whoever buys that space will change the topology of that significantly.
Agreed.
Once that topology is settled, then we will make a determination as to what we have to do on our side to protect our land. If we do it now, yeah, it might solve a temporary problem, but if they come back and clean everything from behind it, I'll just have a wall, and then they will tell us to take it down because they want to have access from
Right.
our space.
I
So
understand,
that's-
yeah. My concern was, as I stated, just it blowing into your side of the,
No, we will, I
spaces
mean, that's
that
a
you're
good
gonna
point.
need.
In fact, I've written it down. We will have somebody come in and give us some suggestions on it.
my other comment was, as we change this use, Joe, I guess this is more to Joe, as we change this use and other potential restaurants move into the space, other spaces in there, how does that affect, once we've approved a mixed-use parking plan, additional restaurants, does that play a factor at all?
It could. As you noted in the shared parking chart, right now the proposal for the vacant space is office space. I mean, there's a chance, I guess, that couldn't work out for whatever reason, or if some of these other tenants that are existing in the building may move out as
Right.
as time goes on. And if another restaurant were to come in, they would have to come in front of
They'd
this
have
board.
to come again?
Yes.
Okay.
In addition, with this restaurant, if this restaurant were to eventually leave the space and another restaurant went in its place, without a condition limiting it to this business, the new restaurant, which might be a different style, would gain the same benefit of the special permit. Again, unless the special permit was conditioned to be limited to this business.
So this special permit's really to that retail space versus the building as a whole?
That depends on the board. It's a condition of
Okay,
approval.
yeah. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you for your answers, guys.
Now, one quick question. If you want, after that, we can look at the tentative layout for the restaurant that we did, if you would like to revisit that at some point in time.
Three, Mr. Chairman, I'm only interested in the tenant that would be taking the space. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, before I move to Corey, I guess I gotta ask a question after Kevin asked. So Joe, can you clear up, because, excuse me, Kevin asked about it, and now I'm a little bit confused. This western boundary, the comment that was made by the city, Section 5, who owns the land? Because I heard a couple of different things. Does the city own it, or does the property owner own it?
Along that western boundary there, the city owns a 6-foot strip of land right adjacent to the property.
Okay, so what's the comment that is being made here if it's city-owned land? What are they asking the applicant to do with the land if it's city-owned?
Well, currently, right now, on the applicant's property, there are roots that are coming up through the pavement as a result from the trees being nearby. The trees are on the city property, but the root system is coming up onto their property. It's causing issues within that paved area, erosion issues. So the comment was to talk about the parking area where these compact spaces are proposed, to have something done to address the roots upheaval of the asphalt.
Okay, so I guess if there was structural issues to the pavement in relationship to the trees, I would assume the applicant would be doing something about his own property if you had disruption of the parking spots. I'm just trying to understand.
Right, that's why
I'm reading this, and I'm trying to understand what they're asking of the petitioner.
That's why the applicant has been in discussion with the city to see
Yep.
what he can do, since the tree isn't on his land, but the roots are coming up from the city-owned property
Okay.
onto his property. That's why there's
Alright.
been the communication going.
Right.
Whoa.
All right, thank you. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to commend the property owner for his research. Definitely It looks like hours and hours of homework you've done here, and it's well prepared. But I do have some concerns and share some with the other board members as well. Now, for starters, what's the occupancy rate of the building and the first floor retail? How many vacancies in the first floor, and what do you have remaining above the first floor for square footage?
Okay. On the first floor, we currently are negotiating lease for 3 spots that are currently vacant: restaurant, the insurance, and the accounting. We are in advanced stages of finalizing with the accounting, and the insurance. The restaurant is pretty much a done deal pending an approval here. So they are ready to move in and start the construction work. But that basically will clean up. There's no more retail space available to rent out.
So this restaurant, if it is approved, would take up all the retail on the first floor?
The restaurant will take 3,000, the insurance company will take 1,400 something, and the accounting space is about 780.
Okay.
That's currently in negotiations in different stages, but that basically will fill up the retail space. On the first floor, the 2 unused spaces that you see in our matrix,
Yeah.
those are on the second floor.
Second floor?
Yeah, first floor is the retail, second floor has 2 unused spaces currently.
Okay. Well, in your parking plan, I could see you did a lot of work, you did the best you could, but I am a little concerned with the amount of compact. You know, I'm just concerned, I may be inclined to support it, but I'm concerned the number of compact, that this could set a precedent citywide with future parking problems, that everybody can just cut down, you know, the width of the parking spaces to gain, you know, just a couple more. So I'm not overly crazy about it. I still think it will work, because that's, you know, a lot of your vehicles today are economical, and it probably would work with this, with the nature of the businesses in there, but I am a little concerned. Now, you say the restaurant is going to be open 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., right?
Probably 11 p.m. or later, maybe in the
That's
midnight.
7 days a week?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's a lot of hours, because I was by there yesterday, Wednesday, about 11 o'clock, and it was, I'm going to say, over half. I didn't get in the back, though, I don't know, but, you know, the front was about 50%, so.
It's the left side, the sides and the back.
Yep.
It's the middle that gets fairly full,
Yes,
and the
okay.
front. But that's, you know, but the rest of the space, and that's our staff and people in the current business. And if you look, we have 34 spots. So if we have 20 people in there, that's 20 of us at that time. And the rest could be the people in the rest of the businesses. And then the side, the back, on the other side, they're all not used by anybody.
Okay, all right. Now, Joe, the retail restaurants proposed 3,000 square feet, correct?
Approximately, it's 2910.
Okay. Now, the current zoning requirements, I'm a little, I don't agree with temporarily, because I'm in the restaurant business, and, you know, 1 space per 50 square feet, you know, according to your proposal, you have 300 for freezer space and 1,200 for kitchen, office, and bathrooms. That shouldn't require 1 parking space for, although you do have employees. I think it should be based on floor space, okay? Now, I'm assuming floor space of a restaurant, about 1,500 square feet. It's going to be about seating for about 60 to 75 people, and that's in the ballpark, okay? So to be required to have 59, 60 parking spots, I think is a little excessive, but I do support, you know, a slight modification, but what we're going for here is literally half, you know, we're trying to double the amount. So that does bring a concern, but, you know, to echo Dennis's comments, being in a similar business, and I know what you're trying to accomplish, without a floor plan makes it very difficult for me. You know, I just want to make sure that, you know, totaling 3,000, you're only going to have 1,500 square feet of floor space.
Would you like to see it? Because we have the floor plan here.
Well, I need one that's showing tables.
Yeah. Show them the floor plan, and then we can we can look at proportionate use for bathrooms. They have a full 3-stall bathroom for male and 2 or 3 stall for female inside the premise. And that takes space.
I know Dennis requested one. I didn't hear any response, but, okay.
Well, I didn't know he pulled it out because he did it for them. This is done for that space itself. It's not a generic plan. Okay, they may have taken it and modified, but the construction stuff is pretty much the same. If you look at the bathroom, show them the bathroom. That's the bathroom, then the kitchen above that. And then on the top is the dining area, this whole, okay?
Do you have a maximum legal capacity to this point per fire occupancy?
But as discussing with the owners of the restaurant, according to the Bon Chon regulations that they have to abide by, they have to have 60 people there.
60 is the
Yes.
maximum?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so what's your seating plan? How many do you have seats there in that plan?
At this plan, I did this before, so I gave him as much as I could, but that's going to be reduced to 60. So some of those tables in the middle here, they'll be
But
gone.
how many tables do you have? I just counted about 20, right?
Yes. And I gave him about 80 before I knew that.
Okay, about 80 seats approximately, you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
I mean, on weekends, they could take more people.
Now, is that approved? Does that have a stamp on that plan, or is that just what you?
The stamp plan is something that they have now. They have a stamp plan submitted for a permit to the city right now. Their restaurant application is already in the permitting process in the city. The city was waiting for this appeal to go through before they will make a mind about it. But the entire application for them to move in and start the construction work is with the city currently. So you could get access to all the plans that they have now.
Okay, well, I would like to see a stamp plan with numbered seating here in front of me.
Okay.
I don't know if we can, Joe, is it possible to vote with a condition that we approve the floor plan, or what are our rights here? Because I just want to make sure, literally out of the 3,000 square feet, half is going to be floor space. And that, I know the zoning requires is one space per 50 square feet in the whole entire restaurant, but, realistically, it should be one for, 50 square feet per floor space being in the industry, I think is more realistic, so to speak. But I just want to ensure that, you get the floor plan or see it and make sure that it doesn't exceed, floor space doesn't exceed 1,500 square feet, or we see it unapproved. What can we do in this situation?
The board could either have a condition of approval to review the floor plan at a later meeting, or it could be continued, the hearing could be continued to a later meeting, pending receiving that material for your review.
Okay, well, either or, I would like to, personally, I'm only one vote, but I would like the review of the floor plan for the situation, because what they're seeking here is quite a few amount of spaces, I know, but realistically, it might be the right amount at the same time. But I'll let the chairman speak and the other board members and see whether we want to continue this or review the floor plan or whatnot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I just want to say thank you for all the paperwork, all the updates, all the information. It's very thorough and detailed, so I appreciate that personally. Thank you. My only question is, the owners of the restaurant's not here, and you said there'd be hours of operation would be 11 to midnight, 7 days a week. In their menu, will they be offering or want to offer alcohol? Because that could play into the whole party.
Yeah, I think they have plans to offer alcohol for dine-in. And again, one thing that I do want to remind all the board members is that if you look at the point of contention is that 11:30 to 2:30. All the other periods where the business will be in full bloom is fully covered with our available spaces without having to do any modifications. Mostly because they get the benefit of our 34 plus 6, almost 40 parking spaces that HBSS does not use. So if whatever metric that you're using for measuring, think in terms of the lunchtime from 11:30 to 2:30. How many people will be in the restaurant at that time? How many tables would you think? Even if we have 40 tables, they will only use 10 tables at lunchtime, which is what we have seen consistently in every similar restaurant that we have visited, that you have tables for the dinner. But then at lunchtime, it's sparsely populated. You have 1/3, 1/5, 1/4 of the actual tables actually used. But for dining area, for the dining time, for the weekend, lunch and dinner, you have no condition at that point. Because we already have 59 spots available for them for all those periods. So it's just that little thing. So, I mean, I would, and then other thing that I would like to say is that the earlier we get an approval, the earlier our commerce starts. Each month that I don't have this restaurant, I lose $4,300. But having said that, we are in no rush to circumvent anything. We will follow with the entire thing, and all the research that we did was so that we can target our assessment on the period of contention, which is 11:30 to 2:30. I mean, there will be few people who will be coming in to consume alcohol at that time, but we are a professional building. We are not going to encourage that kind of, we'll be careful about who comes into this building. A big chunk of their customers is going to be the building itself. I mean, for lunch periods, and if they have salads and all, then a lot of our staff will go there to eat. One of the things that we wanted to look for a restaurant was because we have a hard time from our building to go for a quick bite or something. We have to drive to the Walmart Plaza to eat anything. So in that sense, if you look at it, whatever concerns that you may have should kind of be viewed with the prism that we are concerned about the lunchtime, where a lot of people just come in and order ahead on the phone, come in, grab their lunch and go. You're not going to have 15 people come in there, hey, let's all eat lunch singly. So one table has one person. That doesn't happen in reality. So if you put 24 spaces, 19 people, 19 cars, you will rarely ever find in such kind of a restaurant. Yes, you may find it in McDonald's, but rarely in this with single drivers. So I think these floor plans are available with the city right now. We can encourage to do that. What I would really like to appreciate is that time is of essence for us. If you can find it a way so that we can proceed without too much of time, then I think it will really help us move forward. And the insurance space is contingent upon the restaurant space getting. So we have another $1,500, $1,600 that we will not collect in the insurance space further end. So these are some of the constraints we are fighting, and I appreciate all the questions that the board has asked because it helps me understand this business better and to manage this property better. And ask Joe, every time we face any kind of a questioning or criticism, we go back to the drawing board, we do research, we come back with a plan to address them. We have not tried to shy away from anything. So we will try to get you the plan. In fact, Joe, if you could check with Ms. Murphy, she probably has the plans. If not, we can send them to Joe via email, a certified plan, and then he can distribute it to the board members. But I would really request that we don't move it to the next hearing and see if we can do something in between. That would be my sincere request. Again, it depends on your availability and your consideration.
Thank you for the answer, sir. That's pretty much all the comments I had. I just think that this, to me, it seems like a good project and a good thing for the city, but I do have some reservations, so I'm gonna look towards my fellow colleagues for their recommendations. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vance. Well, I think what I've heard tonight, I think there are some concerns the board members have, but I do say I believe the board wants to work with you to make this a success.
Thank you.
But I think we have some things we definitely have to sign off on and get some more information on. I know I'm not still comfortable with the plans as submitted tonight. I still have concerns, and I'll even speak about a few of them.
Okay.
One being, back to the comments that the city made on, and this was from, this came from the traffic engineer, talked about, and I don't think this was discussed, the potential of putting spots, and I think what he's talking about is, you have approximately, is it 3 or 4 doors on the rear of the building?
Yes.
There must be at
We
least
have
3 or 4.
3 doors in the rear of the building.
So one of his comments was in regards to parking in the rear blocking fire exits. And as I was reading that comment, I was looking again at your latest set of plans, and I don't see where it's indicated where the actual doors are. If they are indicated, you can point them out to me, but I don't see where the doors are. I can see where you're putting in the parking spots.
Okay, Costa, can you zoom into that picture there? We can show the doors. They're in the picture. It's just a little,
These 2 back doors,
this
but
door and this door.
they are not to be used for fire. I mean, just in case of a
Where's the
huge-
doors?
Right here, which are corresponding to the plans. And these were earlier stamped plans. This is nothing, I didn't do
Okay,
this.
so if I look at what you provided here tonight, see where the gas meters are? Of course, I can't see that far.
You can zoom.
Yeah,
That's all right.
right here. Here, I'll do it.
Getting old, I need glasses. Okay, so see where your gas meters are now. See to the right, see that little mark? Is that supposed to be one of the doors right there?
Yes.
And the door to the right? Okay, so now you have a parking spot. You have 3 parking areas that aren't, I'm assuming you're putting in 3 parking spots there to get to your 89. They're not labeled as 3 parking spots, but it looks like 3 parking spots. That's right in front of one of the doors. That's just an example, no?
But we have 5 doors in that space.
Chairman, there's actually a 5-foot sidewalk there that allows access for egress. There's a buffer, so there's plenty of room now. I think the previous plan didn't have the 5-foot buffer, which was the problem, but now we have that 5-foot sidewalk that allows for egress to happen without interfering with the...
Okay, which previous plans you talking about? Not the
The ones
2006
that
plans?
the traffic engineer saw.
That's what we addressed after.
Okay.
This
So you're
space,
saying where the gas, excuse me, where the
Yeah.
meters are, you have a 5-foot buffer? I mean, I saw the meters. I mean, I think you have like 17, which I assumed meant you had 17 units in there.
yes.
So you're saying that there's enough, that's acceptable, okay. And where the 6 spots are, so you're saying we have buffer all the way around? Okay, so, which will lead to my next question. Okay, that's fine with me. You mentioned that the entrance to the restaurant's gonna be on the right-hand side of the building, right? Is there around that side of the building, is there a walkway?
On the front there is,
No, not the front, where
The
the
back?
entrance for the door is.
Right here.
yeah, there is a walkway. 3 foot,
No,
3,
no,
4
no,
foot.
no. You said that on the right-hand side of the building, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, oh,
There's
that's,
there's a door there, right? That's
Yes.
where the entrance for the restaurant is to be, correct?
No,
no, here.
Okay, that's not what you told me earlier. I specifically asked, you have a main entrance in the front of the building, correct? I said, is that where the people are gonna be entering the restaurant? No, they're gonna be entering from the side of the building. I know there's a door on the side.
okay, maybe I miscommunicated, but I think we pointed out the location for the door right there from the picture.
Okay, which made sense to me. So what's the door on the right-hand side of the building gonna be used for?
That's egress, means of egress, of fire egress.
Okay, so that is not the entrance for the restaurant?
It is not the entrance for the
Okay.
restaurant.
Because I said there's no sidewalk on the side. You're gonna get
Yeah.
people walking in the parking lot, they're gonna get clipped.
Yeah.
Okay.
My
that's-
mistake.
That's fine, that's fine. That's why I asked the question. Okay. Something else I just thought about as other people were talking, if we're gonna add all this parking, which is what we're trying to get to, what are you doing for snow storage? How are you removing snow? Because it looks like the whole perimeter of this building is gonna have parking all over the place. So how are we gonna handle snow?
There's multiple different ways. You can actually see all around the building, we have about 3 feet of space that is set back. So that's not paved. So if you look on the right side on the 17 spaces, 3 feet of space is actually ours all along. So all around the perimeter of the building, 3 feet of space is actually ours. So that can be used. Also, if need be, we can get permission from the Granite Plumbing. They have almost 20 feet of space with nothing but weeds. And I think if we push the snow there, there will be no issues there. If we do, we can get permission from them. I mean, they've already given us permission to clean the weeds and keep that place clean if we need to do that ourselves.
Okay.
So there is space to put the snow around the perimeter of the building.
The reserved restaurant parking spot, what is the purpose of that spot?
Go back, I'll tell you. That space is going to be used by them to bring their loading trucks if they need to. And by reserving it for the restaurant,
So that's where their deliveries.
yes,
pretty
and that's
much would
what the
be.
door there will be used for delivery, one of them.
Okay.
They will shut down the other door, the one near the gas meters will not be
Yep.
used because they will have an office there.
Because I was going to ask that question too, where you're going to have the delivery, so that makes perfect sense to me. That's okay.
And the 5-foot gap, the setback you have gives enough space to move the ramps around and do things that you need to do.
Okay.
Their deliveries will come early morning, that's what they said.
Yeah.
So we should be okay.
As far as the restaurant itself and the plans, and Corey had some questions, some of the other members did too. I'm in agreement with that too, that I think it would have benefited you if the tenant actually showed up this evening. I understand.
You know, I met with them last Wednesday. They
Right.
called me. I have a chat, a text message from them this morning. How are things going and all that. And then
Right.
maybe they just forgot about the date. Sometimes it happens.
Well, I think for me, because, the request here is for a special permit, and you're also asking, because of the compact parking, is going to lead into another permit also. So I know for myself, I'd like to have somebody here. Now, I know you can't drag them in here, but I
can have them
would
come here.
strongly suggest, and I know I'd like to see this, I'd like to get a representative in here, somebody from the restaurant that could speak before the board and just give us a general idea of what the plans are.
Okay.
Corey, I believe, asked, now, did we, the plans that were submitted up there, was the board satisfied with the layout of the actual restaurant? Because I thought I heard two different things. You did like was that part of your CAD drawing?
Well, yeah, I did that because I was working with another architect that they didn't want to work after due to pricing, so.
Okay. So for instance, if that's the drawing we're going to go with, I'd like to hear the restaurant talk about the drawing, what the purpose of it is. Did you have a question there, Dennis?
Just through you, Mr. Chairman, the plan that I think the board should get is the plan that the restaurant intends to build, and I think that that's important.
Okay, so that would be a request that we'd have also,
Yeah.
okay?
I believe a certified plan has already been, stamp plan has been submitted to the city. We should be able to get a copy to you fairly quickly.
Okay, nope. The
But
whole
my-
thing about the western boundary over there and the city-owned land and stuff, I just would like to get, Joe, now, I don't know if this can be done in conjunction with the petitioner, that some type of, I'll call it mitigation, what is the real plan for that area? I just want to make sure the board understands what this gentleman has to, what the plan is for that side of the site. No, I think this board is, wants to do the right thing here. I see a potential good opportunity there. Like I said, I can remember that building being vacant for a very long time. It was constructed, and all of a sudden, I couldn't believe nobody was in there. And I still think of that variety store sitting there by itself all that time, and then little by little, it's built up. Because, a site like this, I can see fitting into the city's master plan also. Now, there are no sidewalks on that side of the street, are there?
In the front, there is.
Is it just, but if you ran it up towards like not Wood Street, up to, if you go east, up towards the nursing home, up that area, there is actually no...
There is actually. It actually stops
Well,
right.
my thought is, I could see your spot getting more traffic just from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
if they didn't have to walk in the street and that type of thing. You know, stuff like the bus stop and that other stuff that you talked about is definitely a benefit, but, you know, I could see this place as, you know, again, to benefit your building, just with local people from the neighborhood that might want to come down to a new restaurant and could walk down and not have to drive.
There is, right from the apartment complexes that you have there, the West Gate and all, there is a walkway all the way up to the building till our property ends. And then after that, the next property, the Wood Street property, you don't really have any, it just dies after that.
Yeah.
So till our building,
Yeah.
we do have a regular paved walkway
Yeah.
going in.
Well, I'm not suggesting we want to put walkways in there, that you have to do it, but I'm just thinking out loud that that would be a nice tie-in for that building.
Yes, it will.
You could get neighborhood and people that could walk down to your businesses. I think that's it, but I firmly believe that we need to come back and, you know, I'd like to get a revised plan also. You did this one here, but I would like to see revisions based on the comments we've made. I'd also like to see if you're going to put signage in there regarding, you know, enter and exit, those types of things.
But
If
once
you-
we have a final plan,
Yep.
then we will get the things, lines painted and put the signs up. But we can put
Oh, no,
some of the stuff.
I know that. I need to see, you know, basically a rendition.
Okay,
That's why I asked the question about, I didn't see any signage.
Okay, I
If I
understand.
take the current state today, you know, you can pretty much go in and out each side, and,
Yeah.
you know, that's the way it is. But
Okay,
since you showed on this plan a circular motion of traffic moving from right to left, I didn't see anything that showed, you know,
No, no,
enter,
no.
exit, those types of things.
Okay.
Okay, does any other board members have any other?
Mr. Chairman, so today being Thursday, our next meeting is only a week and a half away, so I guess we're leaning towards a continuance. Am I correct? Till the,
Well, I know I'm looking for a continuance.
Yeah. yeah, I agree.
The board might have a different thought, but I know this gentleman's talked about, you know, time is money and all these other things, but, you know, I really think at the end of the day, if we get this thing firmed up and we can meet all the conditions that this board's looking for, I think you're gonna have a nice finished product.
Okay,
I'm sensitive to, you know, time is money, but,
The next meeting is a week and a half, sir. Monday, Joe, what's the date on the?
well, October 22nd is the next meeting. The one after that is November 15th. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna have enough time to be done in a week and a half with new set of plans. If you think you are, I just assume the next time you come in here, we have a pretty much firmed up plan that meets all of our comments, and that hopefully we could move from that phase. But I don't have an issue with waiting to give you more ample time that you have a real good finished product.
well, I think no, we have a dedicated person who actually can go out and get things done.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
also, I just want to confirm the things that we have to do between now and then.
Sure.
Basically, the most important thing we have to do is do some planning again, the parking planning again, show a screen for the dumpster, show the exit entry points clearly and no entry signs, see where can we move the compacts to the back, then have some visual inspection of this roots popping on the parking lot. I have to figure out what that is. I've never seen that, but I'll check that out. And then get you certified plans as soon as possible. The fact that it is with the city right now, notwithstanding, we can probably get it to you sooner. A narrative of what they're going to do with the space can be accompanied with the plans. We can have the restaurant people send you a narrative, just like I sent you a narrative as to how I calculated the numbers. They can send you a narrative, which they can come back to the next meeting and read out if need be. But if they send you a narrative with their signatures, and that should be something that you can use, and if you have questions, then you can wait for them to come back and do that. And then I think what I would like to do is to keep that western boundary topic to be a discussion between board, city, and us, and we can address that, but
Yeah,
not
and
tie
as far
that
as the
into
western
this.
boundary goes, you know, Joe, I guess I might request through you is that, you know, you give us an updated analysis of what the city's position is, as well as what this gentleman's position is, then at least the board will have a good understanding of how that western boundary is going to be treated.
Right,
So
and
it'll
so
be,
we,
I'll call it a 50-50, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, and I just want to keep that separate from
Sure.
this particular process.
Sure.
And I think consistently I heard from Mr. Peck, from Mr. Billinger, and Mr. McCarthy that they want to see the hotel, the actual plans. So I think that seems to be the biggest stumbling block right now in terms of moving forward. But I would really request you to see those plans from the prism of 11:30 to 2:30. All the other discussions we meet, all the other constraints and the conditions that you have, we meet. It's just between 11:30 and 2:30 that we have an issue. So if we keep that, and I think then you should be able to see this thing through. A business owner will always be ambitious. You know, if you ask me what my potential revenue is 3 years from now, I'll say $100 million. You know, do I have a path to get there? I don't know yet. So a business owner would always try to be very optimistic, but the best way to see where he is going to be is to see how others have done in that space. Now, he could be a unique person, you know, Donald Trump or somebody who can build a Taj Mahal there and, you know, big $4 million a year in running a Korean chicken place. But that's how we would make an assessment. And interestingly, I was going to testify as an expert witness this morning in a Medicaid fraud case where somebody was swindling money with the computer system that we built for them. So I understand how you have to do prep work to make sure that all the concerns are addressed. Because I think, honestly, by you making us do all this work, you're doing us a favor. That we have all, from a business point of view, you don't know where you're going to get hit by. So by making sure we're going through all the hoops, we have analyzed and understood everything that we are going to be seeing and live with. I mean, if I bring a restaurant and I don't have parking when I come in, then I have to live with it for the rest of the time. And for what sake? $4,500 a month? I mean, that doesn't mean anything for us in terms of our business context. So I think from that point of view, we take the value of your opinions. And I just want you to think that we have a very constrained problem. And I really appreciate the openness and the consideration that you have shown towards economic issues of this. But I'd like that when we send you all the information and we will collect it, that you please act on it as quickly as you physically can, so that we can move a resolution. I mean, I can go and get a permit for him now by not putting my unused space in there because we only need 83 spaces, which we have. And Ms. Murphy will grant us the permit, but I don't want to do that. I would rather go through the motion, but I don't want to go beyond 22nd. So whatever time, effort we have to do, we will put it.
If you feel you're going to be ready by the 22nd, that's fine with this board. I just want to
As long as we keep.
make the point, don't cut yourself short and come the 22nd and, well, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. I just want to make sure.
How
you
much
gotta-
time, is there a way if we determine that we will be running short, can we request a postponement of the hearing before the date? I can.
Yes, you could request a continuance. It would be at the board's discretion to approve it. But you could request a continuance if you felt as though you weren't going to be able to meet that, gather all your information for that date.
So we have to set the date right now, or can we wait for 2-3 days to do it?
We set the date right now, and that's why, you know, and I'll just speak for myself. A lot of times, I don't want the information delivered to me, you know, the day of the meeting, and then I have to plow through it. It's nice to get the information beforehand, so, you know, there's ample review time. And to Corey's point, because we're meeting on a Thursday, we're actually, you know,
A week and a half.
it's normally a
And
two-week.
how much lead time would you need? When can I have it by so that you have time to review it before the next meeting?
Well, I would say, you know, the previous Thursday, for instance, just to throw a date out there, at least it gives me time to get through it. But I'm not telling you that's what I need. I'm just
I
suggesting,
understand.
you know what I mean?
Understand. And I really appreciate your guidance in this. I just want to know if there's anything else that I've forgotten in what we need to, besides the plan, the parking plan with renditions and some of the changes, and the restaurant plan, do we really need anything, or have the issues been addressed?
Not that, unless the board, any board members have anything in particular that the petitioner didn't mention, but I believe
I think that covers it all, Mr.
you
Chairman.
hit on the key points that the board members are looking for.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question or
Sure.
comment. If this is continued to the next meeting, I would just highly suggest or recommend that the representative from the restaurant be here. I think, for me, I think I would get a lot out of it. I would understand more of the vision of the layout of the restaurant. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I know, I'm just,
Well, if, I'm only one vote, sir, but if you do want to opt to go to October the 22nd, which is only a week away, and you do need a continuance, I mean, I'm only one vote, but I would certainly entertain it because it's complex. There's a lot of things need to get done here, and I would certainly entertain a continuance till November. So it's not, if it's not done in time, it's not the end of the world. That's one point I'd like to make.
oh, then I think if I can get that level of support, even informally at this time, then we can shoot for 22nd, but we'll give you enough notice that we need some more time. But he's confident that we don't, because he revised these plans. We left your office at 4:30, 4:45. He finished the plans, got them printed, and was here at 6:32. So I think we should be able to get you there, but it requires thinking. It's not something we can just move the widgets around. He has to think about how to move things around. But I think we can get you these plans and because the certified, the architectural plans are already here in the city, so we don't have to do any work for the hotel plans. We're restaurant plans. We may have to just spend time in doing a narrative with them. So we should be able to get you the plans that you're looking for by Wednesday, Thursday, latest. And if we can't, can we get some kind of a guidance that if we come back on Thursday and say we cannot do it, can we get a continuation on 25th?
Yeah, the board's here to work with you, sir. You know,
Okay.
we're not, I think you get a good idea of where we're coming with this. And, Joe, I guess now I gotta hopefully wrap this up, but I have a question regarding the parking, the compact spots. If we're talking about a additional special permit, is that entertained within this petition, or does that come back for a separate hearing? How do we handle that?
The board could grant that additional special permit because it's the same type of relief. They're both special permits related to parking. It's not a variance as opposed to a special permit or vice versa. So
Okay.
it's something the board, if they were to grant approval, could also grant in conjunction with the originally applied special permit.
Okay, good. All right, sir, I think we're all collectively on the same page, so we're going to continue this to the 22nd, and I would highly recommend, if things don't pan out, that you do show up on the 22nd, and you can explain what happened, and then we'll move from there.
Okay.
Okay, so can I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. With that being said, I'll make a motion to continue to October the 22nd, 2012.
Do I have a
Second.
second? Yep.
Second.
I have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to October 22nd.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue.
Mr. Peck?
Continue.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue.
Okay, sir, we're going to continue to October 22nd. We look forward to the next meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yep, thank you. Okay, our next order of business is
Yes,
minutes.
Mr. Chairman, yep, we have, I assume everybody had a chance to read the minutes from August the 27th and September the 10th.
Any comments?
Comments? Okay, that being said, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for August the 27th, 2012, and September the 10th, 2012.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve.
Mr. Peck?
Approve.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved.
Okay, any other matters any board members have? Hearing none, like to make a motion to adjourn.
The sheets that
A motion to adjourn.
So moved, thank you.
we had the sheets here. The sign-out sheets, I took that.